Hey, good evening everybody. Lawrence Michael, Operations Manager for Air Quality Remediation, making a post-remediation video. It's about 11 o'clock at night. We're just now getting finished everything in the basement of the video I did before this one. I think that one was labeled black mold basement remediation, residential basement remediation, something like that. So for those of you that watched that video, you saw what the basement looked like when we first started on day one. Now you can see the transformation now that we're done. Just to run through a scope of work. So the basement area was affected with mold growth. For those of you that didn't watch the first video anyway, basement was affected with mold growth. Same policy procedure that we do for every remediation and restoration. We build a containment, we isolate the affected area from the unaffected area. That's one area where other companies take shortcuts. They don't always build a containment, they don't always isolate the affected area from the unaffected area or establish negative air pressure. Both of those two things eliminate cross-contamination. It eliminates mold spores from getting into the rest of the house and making people sick. So it is imperative that you do so, but companies don't always do that. So sometimes when you see difference in prices between different remediation companies, you want to make sure that you're comparing apples to apples. Make sure you're comparing the scope of work between the two companies, because there's probably a reason why one is more expensive than the other. And that is usually, cost of the materials. They're using better materials, they're adhering to the standards that are put forth by the IICRC, so that adds extra materials that companies that aren't adhering to these policies don't have to use. They don't change the filters as often as they should, again, as outlined in these policies and procedures. So just make sure when you see a remediation company and you get multiple bids, just understand that there's a reason why one is more expensive than the other, and it's usually to protect you in the house. But anyway, walking through the basement, so we built our containment, set up our negative air pressure. We had to demo some wood paneling. So there was some wood paneling here. So all this demo was done. Then we treated all the studs. We also removed all the floor tiles that were on the floor. Treated all the studs, so wire brushed, HEPA vacuumed, sanitized with an antimicrobial solution, and then encapsulated with an antimicrobial sealer. That's what you see on all the studs, on the block walls, on some shelving. Everything that's structurally integral, that's staying after our remediation is done, gets encapsulated with this antimicrobial sealer. That's because it prevents new mold growth from occurring. We tore down our containment door that went to the upstairs because the remediation is now done. We had to cut out some drywall along this room here. So drywall got cut out, studs got treated. We did cut out a French drain in here and run it to an existing drain that was over on the unfinished side of the basement. We also installed a dehumidifier in here. We're running the discharge for the dehumidifier to the same drain that this sink and the washer already uses. So we have our French drain and our dehumidifier discharge going to the existing drain in the floor, which is great. This hot water heater was the main cause of the mold growth in this basement. Hot water heater had a pretty good leak. The homeowner didn't usually come down in the basement, so there was no reason for them to see the mold growth that was occurring until they did go down in the basement and saw it. So this hot water heater is in the process of getting replaced, but until it gets replaced, I just have a pan with some PVC piping that runs to that existing drain that we just talked about. So at least for now, our studs won't get wet again, which would then have the potential for new mold growth. So just for now, it's a temporary fix until the hot water heater gets replaced. Who knows when that'll be, unfortunately. So we just have a stopgap, a band-aid for now. Everything else was decontaminated, so every item, every surface throughout the affected area, regardless of what that affected area is, gets decontaminated, so that's HEPA vacuuming and sanitizing, so wiping everything down with an antimicrobial solution. So every item, every surface from top to bottom, back to front, all the way throughout the entire area gets decontaminated. That's another area where some companies fall short. They certainly don't go through the entire area and HEPA vacuum and wipe every single surface. I've seen it 100 times, and they just don't do it. And then when you go back to do sample testing, so surface sample testing or air sample testing, it always shows that there's still mold in there. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll just pick a horizontal surface and I'll run my finger across it. That's an easy way to tell whether it's been HEPA vacuumed and sanitized or not. So if you guys ever have a remediation done and it's not done by us, just take your finger, wipe it across a horizontal surface and see if you have any dust or dirt on there. If you do, every item wasn't HEPA vacuumed and sanitized as outlined in these standards that we talked about earlier. So other than that, that's about it. I'm gonna get out of here, seeing how it's almost 11 o'clock. We start a new remediation project tomorrow. So I'll make another video showing you guys that tomorrow morning. And I still am in the process of making the other videos in response to the comments that we got on a previous video about air scrubber filter changes and how we check the efficiency of those units and things like that. So as always, if anybody has any questions, any indoor air quality concerns, definitely give us a call. We're on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Check out our other social media pages and our website. Again, I appreciate everybody's time. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.